2025 has been a long year. I read something earlier this year actually, and it was saying the days are long but the years are short. This was not one of those years. I promise you, okay? I can promise you this was not a short year for me. 2025 started off with unemployment. Really maneuvering not only unemployment, which is basically financial challenges left and right, but employment challenges. I had a job opportunity that I basically lost because of my own decisions, regardless of whether those decisions were legal or not. And technically, it was decriminalized where I lived at the time. So that was kind of something that, I shot myself in the foot with, and I was like, okay, well, now I basically just got to keep going, got to bounce back and got to focus. And when I look at where my end goal is now, or where I would like to be right now, that job didn't really line up as well as the time frame of when they quote unquote told me I would get to that point. They told me, oh, well, you do have upward momentum and things of that nature, but that's what people say. There was no guarantee, and most importantly, it didn't work out for a reason, right? So, navigating unemployment, even in reference to my last few videos, unemployment got me just staring at the stars, wondering when is this gonna be over, because I'm tired of it. And I was quite fucking tired of that. In the beginning of 2025, while dealing with my unemployment challenges, I was able to do a couple things for my store. And when I look at what's taken place for the store this year, not many acquisitions. We haven't had too many sales. It's not bad, but it's also not great. But at the same time, when I have less money to just buy things like I normally do, I like to actually, use the money I earn from the store to support the store. And I like to sit down and see if there's something that I want that's in a lot, if I could buy this thing, right, hypothetically speaking, and then funnel the rest of the items I don't want, we could say, into the store so I could have more inventory. Even though it wasn't a crazy year, I did get to make a massive Xbox 360 haul into my video game collection. So that was nice. Other than that, wasn't really too much for the store. I think this year I made less than $200. Not crazy. Not bad, but all in all, I think I spent as far as acquisitions for items this year, I spent $50. Made $100 my first few months out of that lot. I came back and I sold a couple items. I made $30 at the end of the year. So not great, but again, when I only spent $50 this year for sales, it's that's really not bad. I made close to $150. So outside of the store, I would say, when I look at my economic opportunities, they weren't very promising. This year I decided, I really want to focus on IT, doing help desk. I heard a lot of people are trying to do help desk. I mean, to each its own. But for me, doing these videos, making content, dealing with consoles, really being interested in video games and the development aspect of them, I figured IT would be a great starting point, since my end goal is to end up in a gaming studio. Excuse me. What gaming studio, what company? I'd prefer for it to be PlayStation, maybe Santa Monica. I'm not really sure right now, but I mainly just want to start composing. I want to really compose inside a gaming studio. And, that was my main goal for 2025. As far as a job in IT, I didn't achieve that at this time. However, I was able to achieve a role doing something I never really thought I'd ever do, quite frankly. Um, and that was working on a boat. So, as I was sitting down throughout the year, basically making content, it was at that point of like August, because I was pretty much living with someone else, and I was like really at that point of counting down my days of like how long I would still be able to be here before, it's basically over with, right? And that situation kind of just went left, not only in reference to that relationship, but kind of just the entire 90-day time frame I gave myself. Nothing really panned out. And as I sat down and I realized, okay, I'm going to be living on the street from this point forward, I applied for a job that I didn't want, that this person recommended, and that turned out to be the only job that gave me a chance. And basically, I'm thankful for that role. That role really gave me the time that I needed to not only really just sit down and do something that I felt was constructive in that moment, but it also gave me a sense of purpose for myself. I told myself, you know what, after that experience, I'm going to double down and I'm going to focus on paying off my student loans. I was not only able to achieve paying off my student loans, excuse me, but I was able to also sit down and utilize not only the money, the extra money that I had after I was done paying off the remainder of my student loans, to prepare myself to make a trip back home to see my parents and kind of regroup, figure out what I'd like my next steps to be. So, as I'm here in 2025, basically looking at everything after I would say had not the most stellar year. I'm not gonna lie, I just stuttered my ass off. I was struggling to get that one out. I didn't have the most stellar year, but I did achieve a lot of things for myself as an individual. I also achieved a couple things where it's like I've made, in my mind, I've made some more hurdles for myself, but I realize, there's always a give and take. Some years you feel on top of the world, you achieved all the things you wanted to do, and other years it's not terrible, but it's not great. And I feel for me, that was what 2025 was. A realization of what the difficulties of being an adult is really like. This year I turned 28. And I'll be honest, it was a unique experience. Understanding that, I'm now in a position where I'm trying to effectively get my life together. I became an uncle shortly before becoming 28, which is nice. My nephew, he's a very happy looking child. That I will say. I'm glad to see, he's enjoying his time. He's enjoying his time on this rock we all call home, right? And it's been a really surreal experience. Just looking at myself, looking at my life, looking at this experience, understanding my journey, not only with life, but content creation too, I've been doing this for, at this point, I'm going on 4 years. Excuse me. I remember I started this journey in 2022. I wasn't very consistent. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's been hard. At least in 2025, it was extremely hard to be consistent, knowing that my main focus is looking for a job, at the same time putting out videos that I find to be valuable and meaningful, as well as not sulking within my less than favorable emotions. So, as I've really looked at this year, I've really struggled. I've really fucking struggled to make it through this year, but I've done the best I could to be as optimistic as possible. And even though right now I'm in a situation which I genuinely did not want to be in, I did not want to do majority of the things that I've done this year. You know, coming back home and effectively feeling as if I'm starting over, I realize like I'm gonna make the most of this, and I have to give myself meaningful goals to achieve, you know. So I'm looking forward to getting that role in IT, even though it didn't work out in 2025. 2026 is a brand new year, a brand new opportunity, and a brand new time frame to start. And at the same time, I'm really looking forward to being able to find my not only my voice, but my level of consistency when it comes to creating content, at least on this channel. My other channel, it's really just gameplay videos, and I was able to get an idea of how I would like to structure content. I will say, looking at how my strategy played out after uploading on that channel for a full year, I'm not very satisfied with it. However, I do understand that my approach was a bit all over the place. But I mean, when it comes to content creation, you need to find what works for you, and everybody's different. I mean, everybody's different. Nobody does content the same. Nobody makes content the same. Nobody has the same ideas, or better said, no one has the same execution on said, quote unquote, the same idea. So it's a unique process where I've gone through different forms of content, different iterations of how I want to make my content, different editing styles and methodologies. You know, and there's a couple things I'd like to get back to, like current events, you know, really doing my best to kind of keep my mind in the zeitgeist of pop culture. Not only pop culture, but really just in the world. You know, I spend a lot of time watching video game stuff, so even seeing that realm of content and how people cover what's going on in the industry, and it does extend outside of games since it's technology focused. You know, 2025 has been the year of AI and how everybody thinks it's going to destroy the world and take our jobs and stuff. And don't get me wrong, AI is taking people's jobs. AI is not purely destroying the world because it's just detrimental. It's destroying the world in a way mainly because people are trying to implement something that has not proven itself yet. Excuse me. And we're watching everybody basically try to run to the goalpost with a torch in their hand, and they're not really sure if they're going to have enough fuel to really light the fire. You keep it going, if that makes sense. So I'm really just interested to understand what 2026 is going to look like, seeing the fact that we're having all these issues with RAM and things of that nature, since, you know, this is more of, again, a reflection video of my year, and this is kind of one of those issues that has displayed itself actually at the end of 2025. So I'm just really thinking about what this year has really been, and I know it's been very difficult for a lot of people. Difficult for all the developers who got laid off, difficult for all the people who got laid off. You know, it's not just the tech industry, or better said, the tech sector, but even just those, even basic customer service jobs, seasonal jobs, watching people struggle to get jobs that are truly consistent and meaningful for them, but just grabbing what they can where they can. You know, somewhat like what I did. I took this role because this is what I could take. And reasonably, it was that or homelessness. And I was already homeless. So, it was not a pretty journey for me. So, but I will say at the end of the day, when it comes to 2025 as a whole, you know, I'm thankful that I'm alive. I'm thankful that I got to see my family. I got to see my siblings. I got to see my nephew come into this world and see the happiness on my sister's face. Not only that, but her husband as well. You know what I'm saying? I even got to see their little family Christmas photos. And that's a beautiful thing. Overall, like, I really want to say when it comes to 2025, it has been one hell of a year. Not the year I wanted, but it feels like it might have been the year I needed for me to recognize where I really am and to see what really matters. You know, you can't look back at the past and say, oh, you know, it's going to be just like last year. I'll be honest with y'all. 2024 was not like 2025. The ending of 2024, I got to leave a job that I hated. And I was very happy to sit down and go into 2025 hoping that this was going to be the year where I really can make it happen for myself. I made some of the things I want happen for myself. I don't have to sit down and think about student loans anymore. But I also no longer have a place of my own. So, you know, a lot of things have changed. It's a real interesting situation that's befallen me, and I understand that, hey, even though these are my 2025 reflections, I understand that 2026 is going to have quite a bit in store. I'm honestly hoping for plenty of positives. More money, more opportunities, and most importantly, to truly be satisfied. And on top of that, at least when it comes to content creation, gain some consistency, gain a bigger following, you know, because the day that I can truly make money online is the day I know, like, I've made a really big leap for myself. Because once I could do that, I could not only learn to utilize that money to invest in myself, but to then begin to expand. Because it's all about the little steps, right? And even with this video, it's about the little steps. I still have not gotten paid on YouTube. That's fine. At least right now, the main thing is understanding the process. The process of how to make quality content. The process of genuinely just content creation. You know, I'm sharing my life as I make these videos. And that's pretty much what it's been since the beginning. Ever since that first video of 2022, you know, what damaged was or what damaged goods was when I originally made this channel. So I'm just excited to see what 2026 brings me. 2025 again was quite a unique year, not only from a personal perspective, from a employment perspective, but as well as an entrepreneurial perspective. There's been a lot of things that have taken place, and I'm kind of just speechless in a sense, right? Like, I started this business, at least in reference to making YouTube, as an outlet for me to express not only my feelings but my thoughts, but in reference to me just learning to share more and be a bit more creative. Like, I've always wanted to utilize my voice in one way or another, and I feel like when it comes to making YouTube videos, this is something I truly do enjoy. It's not the only thing I want to do, but it's something that I've always enjoyed. I've always enjoyed watching YouTube and listening to people do storytelling and listening to like psychology videos and educational information. You know, for me, YouTube is really a lot of my life in a unique way. Watching other people create content, like the early days of memes. So, or at least internet memes, right? Where everybody's coming together. So, you know, 2025, or better said, this entire journey of content creation through 2025 has been a unique story for me, from ups and downs, as far as struggling to make content, at least on this channel, and be able to upload it at a certain point in time, as well as learning to implement a scheduling strategy and seeing how that would work or how that would fare, and getting an idea of, if I want to do something different, how would that look, and how could I be, I would say, more organized in a sense on what my content rollout or structure would look like. Excuse me. So, you know, that's just one aspect of it, at least in the, you know, content creation space. when it came to, doing these video games and stuff, that was something that came out of like a child desire. I really liked video games as a kid. We weren't really able to buy consoles and stuff like that. My first console was an Xbox 360, so at least my first home console that I got to share with my siblings was an Xbox 360. So, to start off this year with an Xbox 360 lot and be able to keep most of those games and still have inventory to sell and to have doubled my money, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice knowing that was basically the only large scale acquisition I was able to make, and how much how much inventory I was able to get out of that purchase. So that's not a bomb, I promise. I just have fireworks going off, but I'm just very, very happy now. I'm in a space where I'm looking forward to life after 2025 and seeing where implements, lol. Seeing where I could make some really big changes, what kind of implementations that I can actually make, not only within my business, but within YouTube and content creation, and within my life as well. So, 2025 has been unique. From a personal perspective, I don't feel it's the best year, but I feel it's been an extremely huge year of growth, not only as a person, but as a man. Sitting down and seeing how people are in life, seeing how, as an individual, you operate and how people respond to that. And most importantly, just doing things that I want to do, doing things that I feel are right, or advantageous for me or to someone else. And I say all this because, I gave away a lot of things this year for free. Just looking at the aspect of, I rather these things make a new home as opposed to end up in the trash and stuff like that. Lead a new life, right? And I find me kind of ending it here kind of fitting. Going into 2026, what kind of life would I like to lead for myself that year? And how does that look going forward, or how will that shape me going forward based on the actions and the decisions and choices of 2025? So with that being said, I really hope you guys have a great night. I hope you enjoy yourselves. Happy New Year to anyone who listens to this, depending on when you listen to this. And don't get too drunk, don't get too fucked up. Have a good time, but don't get too fucked up, you feel me? So I want to say thank you again. We're looking forward to having a lot of unique talks as far as 2026 goes. And I hope to see you on the next episode of Damaged. I'll catch you in the next one. Adios.
first place.